Hi, welcome back, guys. This is your friend the Momo Fanfics back with the amazing fanfiction. This is series of What If Female Deku Become a Villian. Today was like any other. Actually, scratch that. Today was horrible. Our teacher mentioned about our future decisions, and of course he predicted everyone wanted to be a hero. Even I, a quirkless nobody, believed I could be a hero. But my heart started sinking when my teacher stated my goal. I could feel my cheeks turn red from embarrassment. It got worse since Bakugu, my childhood friend, had pushed me to the ground. His red, raging eyes gleamed with fury and anger before he spoke in an angered voice. "You think you can be a hero, Deku," he shouted. "Someone like you with no quirk, no hope, and no one. Yet you have the nerve, you still try." I could feel his anger emitting from him, the pure hatred of his aura infecting others as I heard their teases and mocking. "I think anyone can be a hero," I mutter under my breath. Fortunately, Bakugu's ears caught my words. His eyes turned from a raging fire to a murderous glare. "You really think you can be a hero?" He spoke in a casual tone which frightened the whole class. I could already sense the barrage of anger coming my way. "Now, Bakugu." "Not on school grounds," our teacher stated. I was relieved yet terrified. Oh gosh, I'm doomed. I started to have an inner panic, trying not show signs of it. This is a line for a time skip, as you couldn't tell. The bell rung as usual. Only unlike most times, I was 10 times more desperate to get out of here. Immediately as the bell finished, I got out of my chair, brushed the imaginary dust off my skirt, and did a walk-like run towards the door. I felt hope fill my chest as I reached the door, only for it all to crush as Bakugu was standing right in front of me. His red, glaring eyes made me feel weak compared to my short stature. "Curse you, biology." I knew it wouldn't do help, but maybe some god would grant me to become 6 foot. I started to panic as the rest of the class started to leave, including the teacher. I tried yelp out to see if he would intervene, only for my mouth to be blocked his Bakugu's hand. A few minutes later, and everyone was gone except for me, Bakugu, and his two companions. I felt shivers travel down my spine. Was he going to beat me up? Insult me? Or is there something worse? My mind raced with paranoia, only for my body to be shoved against the ground, making the height differences roughly 2 feet apart. The silence was broken by his voice. Let me make this clear. His voice was calm, too calm. I knew this meant he was serious. "Oh gosh," was all my thoughts could do as he started to continue his sentence. "You will never be a hero, ever. No matter what you think or what you do, you will be a failure. A disappointment to the human race. Nothing but a pathetic, hopeless girl who can't do anything. Ever." Those words. They cut even deeper. Something about his serious tone turned those words from wounds to scars. "If you really want to do the world a favor, then how about taking a nice swan dive off the roof? Who knows, maybe you'll get a quirk in the next life." His smirk was filled with evil as his companions start mocking me. I rise up, standing on my feet once again, trying my best not to let tears be released. It didn't help that he also destroyed my hero analyze book and threw it into the small school fountain. I walked down towards the fountain, thinking over what Bakugu said. Then how about taking a nice swan dive off the roof? The thought sent shivers down my back. He doesn't mean it, right? Right. I knew Bakugu was no gentleman, but he didn't actually want to do suicide, right? My mind flooded with questions, some of which escaped my mouth. But it was put to an end when an image all might formed in my head. No. I'm going to be a hero, quirk or no quirk. I will make it happen. How could this happen? My thoughts running with fear and terror. A villain with some sludge mutation or transformation quirk subdued me, stating he needed a body to hide in. The thought terrified me, knowing I'd become a walking corpse for some random villain. "Thanks, kid, you're a real hero. A body like yours will no doubt stay under the radar." His voice echoed in the underbridge I was currently walking through. I was blacking out and struggling to breathe. All I could do now was hope. Like that, my mind blacked out and I was dead. "Hey kid, you awake?" Earth to kid. I heard a voice above me. It was only when my vision cleared that I gazed upon All Might himself. My mind shifted into overdrive as I couldn't register any words out of my mouth. The only words I could process and speak were all, save, autograph. I felt like an idiot as my brain was still in overdrive. I go into an even more panicked state as I wanted his autograph. It's only when I pick the notebook and see a whole page with All Might written on it. I almost blacked out again from the sheer thought of meeting All Might. This is amazing. All Might, the hero of heroes, is right here with his amazing smile, his epic, his amazing muscles. I start to lose only to regain it from the pure fear of mumbling what I had thought. Thank you, All Might, sir, was all I could release from my vocal cords. Anytime, kid. Now, if you excuse me, I must be heading off. Crime is always afoot. I was so happy that I had completely forgot something. Wait, I shrieked, and from the pained expression of All Might's face, it didn't sound, please wait, I just have one question. Please, it's important. I was almost begging at that point. I need to know was what ran through my mind. All Might's expression was still smiling as he started to walk towards me. Very well, it can't hurt. What's your question, my girl? I gulped. I'm really doing this. I'm really gonna ask him. My thoughts started to fade as I mustered up all my courage into this single question that will affect my entire future. All my life I've been deemed hopeless because I don't have a quirk. But I've heard stories generations ago about people who could fight even without quirks. I've always wanted to be a hero, but I need clarification if it's possible. Is it possible for me to become an H hero? My whole body quaked in anxiety. I asked him for his answer. I can't back down now. He turned towards me. His smile still stands, but I could feel guilt in his eyes. Please, no. I need this, please, All Might, don't fail me. I'm grasping on a ledge of hope. He started to move his mouth, and with it, his words, look, my girl. There's no easy way to tell you this. It's just not possible. Those heroes back then were fighting villains whom hadn't had quirks. I'm sorry, it's just not possible. My world was falling apart. No, no, no. Don't do this to me, All Might, please. Everyone has given up on me. My mom, my father, my friends, my society. Please don't say it. I was trying so hard to hold back my tears, only just being able to. But my cheeks were red. I was trembling, and I knew if I were to speak my voice would crack. All Might finished his sentence with words I never wanted to hear. I'm sorry, my girl. You can't be a hero. My world crumbled around me. I crumbled down on myself. My own soul being shattered. I should know. I was only delaying the truth. My body was trembling. Even as All Might approached me, my trembling wouldn't stop. My girl, are you all right? His voice filled with concern. I couldn't do this to him. He had too much on his plate, saving people and fighting villains. He didn't need to worry about a nobody. I tried to put on a smile, stated, it's all right, All Might. I should have known better. IW was only delaying the truth. Nothing at that moment felt right. I've watched movies where the master takes upon the apprentice. I brush the imaginary dust off my skirt for the second time and slowly walk away. My girl, wait, do you need to go to the hospital? His voice boomed, silencing out the nearby cars. It's okay, really. I just need to rethink some goals of mine. I turned around and started walking away, finally letting a few of the tears escape before I would walk home and sulk in my bed. Is a line, if you could tell it's a line. If Bakugo ever found out I was acting like this, he would just yell at me, calling me weak and pathetic for having a self-pity moment. But I couldn't help it. My dreams were crushed by the very person who inspired those dreams. Without them, I'm just a sulking, sad excuse of a person. I really didn't want to go to school, not in my current state. So I turned on my in-bed heater to rise my temperature. It was even more believable since I cried myself to sleep and my cheeks were a burning red. I was allowed to stay at home. My mom and co needed to run some errands and would later catch up with friends. I forget so much of a kind and lucky person I was. She put so much time into me that she lost her own. To think my time was wasted on chasing a dream that could never happen. I'm off, Izumi. My mother's voice was clear and filled with joy. All I could respond was with a mumble-like groan. There's food in the fridge if you get hungry. How was her voice so joyful? Oh, right. Because I never told her about my interaction with All Might. I just stated I was sick. Nothing more, nothing less. I heard the clamp of the door shut, leaving me isolated in the apartment for what would roughly be a while. My mom, whenever she had the chance, would go out and see her friends, meaning she could be gone for hours on end. After a couple hours rest, I built up some energy that I could use to at least clean myself up. I had a shower, brushed my teeth, and got some clothes on. I wasn't really in a mood for bright colors, and instead wore a black shirt covered by a dark green hoodie. My pants were dark blue with 2 streaks of white on each. They were shabby and covered my legs. Lastly, I wore some old sneakers that were a dark gray with white laces and a nice dark shade of blue to outline the edges of it. After I got dressed, I walked out of my apartment, locked it, and head towards the mall to clear my head. I walked within the crowd thinking what to do. I could shop, maybe get something to eat. Just when before I could finish my thoughts, I bumped into some. Instead of my casual sorry, I blurted out, "Watch where you're going, idiot." My face was covered in anger until the revelation hit me. What was I thinking? In moment of panic, I returned back to normal. "Oh my gosh, sir, I didn't mean to say that. I've just been having a bad day." I just about mumbled the last part. The man in front of me looked to be rather young. However, his face looked very dry. His light blue hair covered a large portion of his face. He simply wore a V-shaped black neck shirt and black pants. Even his shoes were black. When I looked down, I could see the man had a small stack of paper. My "be nice to everyone" side kicked in as bent down and started picking up the papers until they were folded into a nice small stack once again. "Again, sir, I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean to insult. I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed." I spoke as I bowed down a little. The young man, or more teenager, spoke. His voice was raspy and even sounded like he's been in a desert. "Everyone has bad days. Doesn't matter who they are. Everyone has them. But I shouldn't have to suffer because of your issues." His tone was clearly annoyed yet understanding. I apologized once again, only to receive a grunt and to walk away. I continued to walk around the mall, buying myself something to eat and a new pair of headphones since Bakugo broke my last ones. I was about to head to the second floor when that same called me as he walked over holding my burnt notebook. How did he get that? I must have dropped it. I already knew he'd probably get angry since the previous example encounter wasn't amazing. Once again, my "be nice to everyone" side kicked in, and I bowed, apologizing again. Only his voice didn't seem angry. He spoke in a rather pleased manner, which took me off guard. "You dropped your notebook." He was holding it with the exception of his pinky. Before I could respond, he quickly stated, "My quirk decays anything I touch with all 5 of my fingers." I was a little jumped by that statement, but nonetheless accepted my notebook, thanked him, and walked away. But just as I was out of sight, he quickly spoke, "Why are you upset?" The question took me off guard. No one ever wanted to know how I felt. This almost made me cry, but thanks for the surrounding people being everywhere, I was able to hold it back. As I spoke, my voice trembled, knowing someone wanted to actually know my problems. "Well, you see, sir, my whole life I've wanted to be a hero. But when you're quirkless, apparently you can't be one." I started to clench my fist. People said it wasn't possible, that no one who's quirkless could ever be a hero. I started to shake. Even All Might himself told me it's not possible for the quirkless to be heroes. I yelled the last part of my sentence, earning a few glares. I was so angry that didn't even realize that I just told some random stranger my issues he didn't need to know. I'm sure I didn't mean to put my problems on you. How could I be so stupid?" This man probably wanted a quick answer, not a full-on speech. "I'll be going now," as I quickly dash away from embarrassment. Little did know that the stranger was thinking something completely different as he walked out of the mall. This girl's skills can be used. She's been broken by society and judged for not having what others were born with. A sinister smirk grew upon his face. She's someone we can use. Master would most definitely want someone with those analytical capabilities. His smile grew wider as he started mumbling out small chuckles. I'll report to Master and let him decide. He said I should start finding members for the league. He always told me to see opportunity where others didn't. Hopefully he'll be most pleased. That day, the man walked away, knowing he had found a new soon-to-be member of the league. This is a line if you couldn't tell it was a line. I still didn't want to go to school. But my mom said I was better, and I looked much healthier. School continued as normal, classes, break, bullying in classes. I tried to ignore Bakugo, but he wouldn't leave me alone, constantly speaking his mind towards me. Every word that came out of his made me angrier and angrier. All I wanted was a quiet day at school. Deku, you bastard. Listen to me when I'm talking to you. His voice was superior to all the noises around him. He could see right through me, knowing I wasn't listening. His turned from annoyance to fury. Don't ignore me, Deku. From there, he grabbed the collar of my shirt, pulling me towards him. His face was filled with rage, and his expression said it all. People who ignore me suffer. He then grabbed my newly brought earphones and started stomping on them repeatedly with his foot. I was about to plead when I felt my hand curl into fist and punched him. What have I done? My mind was racing as to the reason of my sudden outburst of rage. Why did I punch him? I've been friends with him for years. He's done this multiple times, so why was this different? My thoughts were cut short as Bakugo grabbed the collar of my shirt again and repeatedly used his quirk. The impact of each explosion stung with agony. Internal damage sided with the burns left my arm in pain, leaving then sleeve charred. My arm continued to scream in pain, telling to rest and using my arm. It's only when the teacher notices the charred mark that he speaks. Miss Midoriya, I think you should leave and rest for a couple of days in Bakugo. Please stop injuring Miss Midoriya. Those words shook me. He knew. That bastard knew I was getting injured, and nothing what kind of useless teacher does. I would have continued to rage my thoughts, but I was put to a halt when the teacher spoke this time with a hint of anger. Miss Midoriya, I suggest you head home. Now. His voice clearly stating you're pushing it. I was terrified. I backstabbed my teacher. I was already embarrassed, so I just slowly got up, walked towards the door, grabbed my bag, then left. I walked down the hallways to exit the school, still wearing my uniform. I didn't know what was happening to me. First my punch against Bakugo, now this. I've never been like this. All this anger, sadness, rage was in me. Why? This isn't how a hero should act. My sudden statement in my mind repeated and repeated. This isn't how a hero should act had me at the edge. My face turned red and my eyes started to water with some tears escaping. The realization hit me. Nothing's wrong with me. I've just only realized that I'm not acting like a hero because I can't be a hero. What's the point in always trying to act heroic if I can't even be a hero? That realization hit me hard. With it came a mixed series of sulking, raging, and depression. I had ripped and destroyed all my hero merchandise, then laid on the bed curled up in a ball. It's not fair, is all that ran through my mind and mumbled through my mouth. It truly wasn't fair. I've done everything I can. I helped, I volunteered, I donated, I did everything I could to help others even if I was quirkless. But no one ever acknowledged me. They always saw me as weak, defenseless, helpless, and quirkless. It was driving me mad. Why should I accept society if they won't accept me? I muttered. Another location within the city. A nice wooden-style bar hidden away from all eyes. I stood there, waiting a lit nervously for Master's opinion. I had copied a few of the notes that girl had taken with my phone and read them out loud to him. I couldn't tell his immediate reaction. It was just a dead look, no expression, no change, no nothing. You say this girl is broken, Shigaraki. How so? His voice had curiosity surrounding it. I replied almost immediately. I didn't catch her name, but I know she wanted to be a hero and was rejected. Even All Might said she couldn't be a hero from what she said. His mouth spawned a villainous grin. I felt pride rise within me. Very, very good, Shigaraki. This is actually what I taught you to do. To look beyond and see opportunity where others couldn't. Just from these few notes, we already have some weakness on some heroes we never knew. You even stated you saw strategies. His voice was filled with amusement, which led my pride to grow more. Yes, master. I think her abilities could be very useful. She seems to lack any physical strength, but with training she could become a useful asset. I realize how much credit I was giving this girl. I already had a feeling what master would say. Yes, from what you've stated, she sounds like a very valuable asset if we acquire her. She may be useful, but we still don't know everything about her. She could reject the offer if she wanted to. His statement seriously popped a hole in my pride, deflating it into nothing. But I'm sure I can convince her to join us. Master's voice sure had a lot of confidence in it. Me and Master had finished talking. With that, I turned the screen off. I then sipped from my drink, which Kurogiri finally gave me. I must say, Shigaraki, you found a valuable asset if she joins. I look forward to seeing her. After my drink, I walked up to my room, hearing the small creaks here from there. I opened my door and can't even be bothered to change, so I just doze off. Some days I wake up feeling great. I'm filled with energy and ready to take on the world. Well, today was not one of those days. I was still tired, my body ached in agony, and to sum it up, everyone had given up on me. Not how I was hoping for this morning to go. My conscience was at war with my body. My conscience wanting to get up while my body just continued to lay in bed. Eventually my body gave up, and with the little willpower and energy I had in me, I got up, had a shower, got into my uniform, and was waiting for Mom to serve me breakfast. Dear, you do know it's Saturday, right? My mom's voice was clearly concerned. These mornings have been the same every day for roughly 3 days. I've been lacking in sleep and my soul felt degraded down to nothing. Every night I cried myself asleep, whether it was during my sleep or when finally falling asleep. I simply gazed at my mother with deadpan eyes, trying my ever so hardest to create a smile. My smile was more of a sad grin than anything. I'm fine, Mom. I'm just going through some changes, I replied. My mother's gaze turned from a frown to a relief smile. Does she not care for me anymore? I continued to gaze at her with a confused look until she spoke. It's okay, dear. Everyone gets a crush they seem to think about too often. My heart froze. She thinks I have a what? Repeated in my mind so many times I couldn't even process the thought anymore. Don't worry, dear. Crushes are natural. What you got to remember is that you shouldn't change yourself for someone else. Now you get changed into some casual clothes and breakfast will be ready. My brain just froze. I couldn't even release a proper sentence, just words. Crush, not confused. My brain just continued to fail me, and I could hear my mom giggling at my reaction. My face probably didn't help as my cheeks bloomed red, and I stared at my mom with wide eyes, thinking of all words I had to choose. Why those words? I dashed into my room from embarrassment and to get changed into normal clothes. I have to be careful what I wear. She might mistake the fact I'm trying to impress someone. So I get probably the most average clothes I could find. A simple dark green shirt with a blue jacket and white outlines. I wore baggy long black pants, and to finish it off, some slippers. This is the most average clothing I could wear. Surely she can't make any suggestions off of this, right? I was so wrong, so very wrong. My mother had what felt like decades worth questions, all of them related to a crush that I didn't have. I was tempted to say why I was like this, but I knew she wouldn't understand. Wanting to be a hero your whole life only to be shattered felt awful. My mom would of course comfort me, but she'd also say something along the lines of, I know this must hurt, but you still have some much potential as a scientist or a journalist. I knew she would be trying to help, but it would only make me feel worse. As I continued to dwell, I'm pulled back up by a very unique question no teen would dare answer. So, had any of those dreams yet She did air quotation marks when saying those. It didn't take a genius to know what she meant. My reaction must have been priceless as my mother's expression was a silent laughter. And no, it wasn't a dream like that at all. My panicked voice said otherwise. She continued to smile at me, but I knew better. That smile was just to cover up her laughter. All right, I won't pick at it. For now. Those last words I was willing to slice off for good. But you should head out and get some fresh air. You're in your room a lot now, and it's starting to concern me. So how about you get outside and do something? I know her words were nice, and she didn't know it. But that last part of her sentence, and do something, almost made me cry. It sounded like she wanted me to do something useful in my life. I know she didn't mean it, but I just could be in this room with her right now. Heck, the only reason I didn't leave my room was because I couldn't bear to look at it. All I could see were the poster and merchandise that used to be there. It caused me to put the sheet over the head, trying to ignore my life a few days ago. Knowing I was such a fangirl, I cringed at the thought, knowing how stupid I felt. I only got out because I was really hungry and didn't want to starve. But now, I don't think I can be in this house without being reminded about how much of an idiot I was. Which is why I was going to try something out to see if it helps. But first I need to do something things. After eating breakfast, I put on some sneakers and head out. Usuri, you don't want wear something a little more attractive, dear. My body cringed at the suggestion. No, Mom, I'm not. Besides, I prefer comfy clothes, I replied. Okay, dear. Well, have fun, I will. After that, I headed out and started my day. This is a line if you could tell it was a line. Okay. I wake up to the sound of Kurajiri's alarm he set for me. It drove me insane because he hid it somewhere, and until I found it, I couldn't destroy it. I slowly slumped my way to the bar, giving him the usual glare to rid that alarm clock. Not happening, Tamira. You need to wake up earlier. Seriously, waking up at 10 am isn't okay. You should take a shower. That'll wake you up. His tone was almost parent-like, like father telling off his son. My morning should be none of your concern. Now get rid of that alarm clock, or I'll no doubt in my mind start destroying anything I can touch, I growled. After gaining somewhat awareness, Kurajiri handed me a cup of coffee. If you continue to sleep like this, it'll you at a disadvantage during the morning. He replied only to receive a mumble from me. Whatever. Any news on that girl? Location? Name? Anything? So far this hunt for her was tricky. I didn't ask her name, and all we have weak description of her. All I remember was that she's a girl, has dark green curly short hair, is rather short in stature and some freckles. How can I recruit someone if I can't find them? As I dwell on my thoughts, Kurajiri raised his voice. Actually, your description helps more than you think. I've actually found security footage of the girl you described, and I believe I found her. His words caught my attention. Go on. Raising a hand to my ear. I believe the girl we're after is Izumi Midoriya, age 14, quirk? None, born near Shizuoka Prefecture. Her mother is Inko Midoriya. The father works overseas, therefore, there's no need to know about him. My usual frown turned into a grin. We finally have a lead. Now all we have to do is let Master convince her, and she'll be working for us in no time. Good. But do we know where she lives, as in a house? We do. An apartment. Should we head there now? No, not yet. We can't risk getting caught by her mother. Guess she'll have to die. I craned my head towards him only to be met with his glowing yellow eyes being narrowed. I think that would unwise to kill her mother. We want to make a first impression. Killing her mother probably won't help us. As much as I hated it, his statement was true. So how do we get rid of her? If she disappears without a trace, the pro-heroes will be on us. So tell me, Kurajiri, surely you must have some master plan or course. The sarcasm I released in those words were more than obvious to anyone. My head turned towards Kurajiri. His gleaming yellow eyes were deadpan from the insult. I thought I had him cornered, but his relied said otherwise. Actually, I confronted all for one about it. We were thinking of replicating her body using a Namu. It won't be able to think about it does mean we can fake a suicide. After all, I checked her school and medical records. Turns out she is quite the bully. It would make perfect sense for her to suicide. I didn't need a PhD to know he's pulling off a smug look despite only having eyes. If that's the case, you may want to stop her. We turned our heads towards the monitor which Master was listening through. Could you repeat that, sir? Asked Kurogiri. All for One's grinning smile was fading. You said it yourself. After so many years of bullying, judgment, she'd want a suicide, correct? And from what Kurogiri said, she's quirkless. A large percentage of suicide victims are quirkless. Kurogiri, you said there was a security camera near a lamp post near their apartment, correct? Yes, sir. Would you check it between 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.? Kurogiri nodded and reached out for a table underneath the bar. He stood there for 5 minutes straight when he finally spoke. She left her apartment at 8:30 a.m., sir. Master's aura had this lifeless feel around it, even his words had no emotion to them. Check every camera she's visible in and describe it. Both Kurogiri and I felt his aura shift from a dead feel to a serious feel. The worst part was that he raised me when no hero would help me. Yet this aura felt uncomfortable. It wasn't until Kurogiri started speak that the aura's feel faded. Well, she left her apartment at 8:30 am holding a bag. She's walking down the street and has hit the mall and is looking where the Santa station is usually placed during Christmas. He paused for a minute as from what I could see it just looked like was wandering. He then continued, now she's at a park and is wearing a red dress with a dark gray jacket. His voice sounded confused, and as was I. Kurogiri skimmed her history on deaths or special occasions. Nothing about today was special. Master just sat there through the monitor as Kurogiri continued. She's opened the bag this morning. It has a stuffed teddy bear, a picture frame of someone, and a very small pair of bright green children's shoes. Each sentence made less sense. What was so special about today? Is she an alcoholic? Drug use? No, there's no way she could get access to that. Kurogiri continued to talk like a narrator, explaining everything. From what Kurogiri stated, she left the park soon after and visited a family called the Bakugus. They could see anything, but after 20 minutes she left and proceeded towards the hospital. What's she doing? We waited patiently for her until after an hour she finally left. We continued to look through the cameras until she headed off to an isolated where no cameras were active. She's wearing a red dress, been to a park, the hospital, had some random items, and is leaving into the most crime-infested part of town. What was this girl doing? My mind had confused thoughts, as did Kurogiri. I suggest we pick her up now. She's reached her limit, heading off into a deserted part of town with no cameras. Those items must mean a lot to her as well. The park and hospital must almost mean a lot to her as well. Master's statement took me off guard at first, but his words slowly made sense. Kurogiri, we need find her now. Very well, Tamura. This is a line if you couldn't tell it was a line. I head into a deserted part of town where the cameras are offline. I've tried everything to get my spirit back, but nothing worked. I thought valuable items towards me could spark something. It just reminded me of my crushed hopes. I thought maybe heading to the park where I saw All Might for the first time saw not met. It didn't work. Finally, I headed towards the hospital to help me as a volunteer. Did I feel like a hero? No. I felt the same way I've for the past few days. I knew I couldn't lie in this world. I lost that spark to become a hero. Now what was I? A quirkless, useless human who can't do anything. Actually, I'm wrong. I can do something. I can leave this world. And who knows, maybe Bakugo was right. Maybe I'll be reincarnated with a quirk. Before I left, I placed a note in my room explaining my intentions. After that, no one would bother me. I'm here, as I spoke to myself. I was on top of a building that was going to be demolished tomorrow. Guess it can serve one more purpose. My feet hesitantly towards the edge. My heart was racing. My body was trembling, and my brain-owned thoughts were screaming against me. I have no choice. I'm useless. No one wants me or needs me. I'm better off not disturbing people with my problems. I felt the wind against my arms and face and looked into the sunset, knowing this would be the last one I ever see. I make it towards the edge, looking down at where I would die. It was an alleyway covered in trash and filth, and possibly rats. My body was shaking like an earthquake, with every bone feeling heavier than before. Well, this is it. I gulped, moving millimeters closer to the edge. See, come on. Why, you know why you're useless. A All Might said you see can't be a HH hero. My mind was saying jump. Everything else was saying don't. Why can't I jump? It's simple, right? I'm pushing the urge to jump, but I do nothing. Nothing at all. Even when I want to die, I'm too weak. My body relaxed, but my mind forced me to shed tears. Even something as simple as dying I can't do. I'm so useless. The word useless repeat non-stop in my mind over and over. I thought I was going insane until I slipped and fell onto the ground. As I got up, I can't we three distinct people. All Might, my mom, and Bakugo. Was I going crazy? I was cut short when all three of them spoke in Snike. Give it up, Izumi, you've lost. The creep factor rose by 10 because of that. And no, I see can find a W way to be useful, see can't I? My mind was desperate to kick these hallucinations out of my head. But they overcame me, and my mind was filled with the repeated word they spoke in sync: useless. It was unbearable hearing it over and over that I didn't even realize I had slipped off the edge and was falling to my death. I wake up with a painful headache infecting my head. My ears are ringing, and my vision is blurry. From what I could see, I was in an empty wooden room with an open door. Apart from the bed, there was a shelf, desk, and keyboard, also made of wood. I try to recall my memories. At first I fail, but after a minute they all start flooding back. I was trying to suicide and I blacked out. That was one question answer. But my mind was curious as to how I got here. The ringing in my ears started to die down and my vision had returned. Still too paranoid to leave the bed, I wait until the ringing stops. After it stops, I slowly move out of the bed and creep to the door, peeking down the hallways for anyone. No one was there except for a light at the end of the hall brightening roughly half the hallway. I slowly creep down the hall on a tiptoe. I was still in my red dress, but my jacket was gone. I continued to tiptoe down the hallway until I reached the end to turn the corner. Inside was a wooden-style bar with chairs and couches and a TV. However, what caught my attention was a man made of purple-black mist, with glowing yellow eyes that streaked back and upwards the head. The man noticed me and stopped whatever he was cleaning. I'm glad you're awake, Miss Midoriya. Unfortunately, Tamura isn't here at the moment. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kurajiri, and I'm a member of the League of Villains. I know you must have a lot of questions which will be answered in time, but for now. He started pouring a glass water and handed it towards me. Enjoy your stay until Tamura returns. In the meantime, why don't you make yourself comfortable? I was highly suspicious of my current predicament, not sure how to respond. But all I can do for now is wail until this Tamura figure returns. The awkward silence was killing me to speak to pass the time. I don't know if Kurajiri feels the same or not, but I needed to find out more about this League of Villains and why they have me. I suppose asking a few questions now can't hurt. I was convincing my mind to start asking questions. Finally, I gave up and curiosity filled me. Why am I here? What do you want, and what are you going to do to me? My approach may have been a little too direct, but I needed answers. The mist man sighed and spoke. I'll answer your questions if you answer some of mine. Deal? His offer was tempting, but I can't give away information about myself just like that. Or can I? Oh, okay, you can ask a few. Oh gosh, I'm going to regret this. I couldn't tell if he was smiling or not, but I got the sense that he's pleased. All right, Miss Midoriya. First of all, what's your view on heroes and villains? Second, what's your view on quirks? And lastly, why are you wearing that dress? His first two questions seemed okay, but that last one. No matter what, I will not answer that. Ever. My view on heroes and villains. Well, heroes are good and villains are bad. Quirks are special, and I can't answer that last question ever. At first, I was happy with my answer, but it hit quicker than I thought. This guy was a villain, I think. I couldn't tell what he was thinking, nor his expression, but he finally replied. All right, I can live with that. For now. Now I'll answer your questions. You're here because we wish to recruit you to the League of Villains. Second, we again wish to recruit you, and thirdly, we're not going to hurt you. I felt a small wave of calmness wash over me. What? No. Don't let his words fool you, he could be lying. But it was too late. I felt myself relaxed a little too much. After roughly waiting 10 minutes, my eyes widened. A man walked in wearing a hand for a mask grabbing his face. He also had many other disembodied hands covering his body, manly chest, arms, neck, and face. But what really shook me was his light blue hair and black clothing, which I saw at the mall. This guy was a villain. His gaze turned towards me, his hand mask covering whatever emotion he was feeling. Good to see you're awake. I'm Tamura Shigaraki, leader of the League of Villains. We're here to He was cut off by Kurogiri explaining how they wanted to recruit me. But why? I was useless, quirkless, and worthless. Why do they want someone like me who can't do anything? The light blue-haired man called my name out, grabbing my attention. His voice was raspy and dry as usual. Head through the portal, Tamura stated. I was reluctant, taking slow steps towards it, until someone, probably Tamura, shoved me through. I got up as quickly as possible and examined my surroundings. It looked to be a rusted lab with the usual items. What took her off guard were the tanks of green liquid containing lifeless humanoid creatures with pale skin and exposed brain, but my thoughts were interrupted by a voice. Ah, Miss Midoriya. We've been keeping an eye on you for quite some time, and I must say I think you might be pleased with what I have to say. He was slowly walking towards. At first I thought nothing of it until he revealed his face, or lack of it. Everything above the top lips were made of nothing but scar tissue. It wasn't pretty to look at, which made me back away instinctively. I know my appearance nothing pretty, but don't let that disturb you. After all, we can make you useful. His expressionless face turned into a weak grin. What do you mean make me useful? I'm useless, and there's nothing to it. My reply didn't convince him. But I truly was useless. So why do they want to recruit me? This question never left my thoughts until the strange man started talking again. Miss Midoriya, I can assure you, we can make your talents useful. Allow me to explain. My name is All For One. I am the mastermind behind the League of Villains. My goals are not important as of now, but the point is, you want to help, correct? You believe you're useless, but society has forced you to think that. Before we continue, I'd like to know how you became all this. I understood what he meant and gave my history towards him, leaving out anything connected towards the red dress I'm still wearing. I explained everything: how I wanted to a hero, but was quirkless, how I was bullied and told to commit suicide, how everyone gave up I could be a hero, that even All Might told me it wasn't possible. I explained how I tried to end myself, but was saved by Kurogiri. All For One's grin turned into a frown and sighed. I'm very sorry to hear all this. You've through quite a lot, haven't? No one ever appreciated for who you are, didn't they? They assumed you were useless because you didn't have a quirk. His words struck deeper than I thought. But I can change that. You can be not just useful, but important, equal to me, Tamura, Kurogiri. We're all outcast like you, judged and thrown aside. I didn't realize it until it hit me. I was crying. Did his words really have that much of an impact? All For One's frown turned back into a weak smile. Midoriya, you were always equal. People just couldn't accept that. But you can prove them wrong. I dares. I cut him off with my own words. I'll do it, I shouted. All For One's weak smile turned into a large grin. Very well, Miss Midoriya. Welcome to the League of Villains. Is there anything you'd like? Any conditions you'd like to settle? I didn't know if I should say or not. The guilt you'd force me not to. But I needed to at least settle two things. Just T2 conditions if that's okay. My worry turned into paranoid, wondering what he'd say. Luckily, his answer wasn't as bad as I thought. Of course, Miss Midoriya. His voice seemed sweeter than usual. Well, my first condition is that no matter what the stakes are, I never have to kill unless it's my choice. I added my choice to at least make it seem I might someday. I felt a wave of relaxation wash over me. Just one more condition to ask for. And my second is that this dress stays with me. This dress will never brought up. Ever, and before you ask, it's personal. The memory was already crawling at me. I wait for an answer. What is he going to say? Yes? No? I wanted to know the answer, but he just stared at me. I don't see a problem with those conditions. I've known many villains who don't kill and lived as a successful criminal. As for your second condition, it is your dress, so I cannot oppose that. A wave of relief washed over me as all the tension in my bones vanished. Just out of curiosity about your second request. I know it's not my place, but do you mind telling? I find it better when I understand the situation. I really didn't want to answer. It was something only Bakugo, my mom and me know. Speaking of which, how will I comfort them about this? I can't just walk up to them and say I'm a villain. As for all for one's question, I guess it couldn't hurt to tell him, just so he knows not to bring it up ever again. Yeah, I got this. I can keep my tears in. I was so wrong. I gave up and crumbled down to my knees in tears. It was one memory I never wanted to forget, but also wanted to forget. After regaining my composure, I apologized for my outburst. Nonsense. What you went through, you get the right to cry about. His voice so abnormally right at the moment. Why, you mean it? I felt the hope fill in my chest, waiting for his answer. Of course. I promise you that you will get stronger, better, smarter, a metamorphosis. It will take time to also change your view on society. Right now you see it black and white. Quirks are everything. But we will change that. His reassuring words was all I've ever wanted to hear in my life. My happiness wouldn't long as a particular person in my life entered my memory. What about my mom? I can't tell her I'm a V-villain. What was I going to do? I can't tell her and have her life or rights at risk. We already have a solution, but I'm not sure if you'll agree just yet. What did he mean? What was his method? My gaze focused on his scarred-covered face. What was he thinking? My gaze broke him and talk. We've created a Namu which was designed to look just like Look. Our plan is to fake a suicide. However, this is your decision. I'll give you a week to decide. I was frozen. Fake suicide. I can't put my mother through that. My father was away. She had few friends. I'm all she has left. But I can't stand in the background anymore. Not after everything that's happened. What do I do? We'll give you a week to decide. However, I expect an answer by then. Any problems, Miss Midoriya? Of course there was a problem. I had a choice between a fake suicide or a permanent chase case on me. I have to think. I can't put my mom in danger. Faking my suicide could make her. No, don't think that she'd never do that. Right. I didn't know what to do. After a long hard think on the decision, I finally came up with a decision. I'm sorry all for 1B, but I can't do that to my mom. I'm worried if she might. I could even finish my sentence without covering my mouth. I thought his face would be annoyed, but it wasn't. Is it some trick? Very well, Miss Midoriya. Your decision will be carried out. Welcome to the League of Villains, Miss Midoriya. We'll give you a week to settle down. But after that, you start training. It'll be painful but rewarding. Are you up for it? I couldn't help but compare him to All Might. Of course, I'd never say it. But he already knew my answer. Yes, with that my days of training would start. This is a line. If you couldn't, it was a line, because it's a line, so make sure you called it a line. 1 week later. I was terrified. My daughter has been gone for a week. No trace of her. Her room is intact. Nothing missing. What happened to her? Did she get kidnapped? Lost? Kill? No, Inko, you can't think like that. This is your daughter. My anxiety started stock up in me, thinking worse and worse scenarios that could have happened to her. Come on, Inko, think, was there any clue? Anything abnormal about her? I traced my thoughts back to any event that didn't fit her. There was only one time. Last week and roughly 3 days ago, she started acting depressed. I teased her about a crush. Then when she got change her clothes. I might have been imagining things, but it looked like she was wearing her red dress under the clothes which she never wore. Ever. No, 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 no. Please no. Of all things, why that? Izumi, please. Wherever you are, please no. It was only minutes when I called the police about what I think happened. I didn't want to believe, but she could have. After everything she's been through. Please, Izumi. I know I was a horrible mother, but please don't. I was already talking to myself. She's been gone for a week and no reports of events has been report. All I could do was pray she was okay. It's been a week and things have been going okay. I've been given a large sum of money by All for One to purchase any items or furniture I want. My room is rather plain. Just a nice birch desk, a dark wooden closet, 2 shelves nailed into the side, a single queen bed, and some drawers for clothes. But today is different. Today, I start training. All for One wants me to improve my combat capabilities. I'm both excited and terrified since I'm not actually aware what I'm going to be doing. All I know is that I'll be mastering 3 weapons and 1 or 2 mobility tools, probably hand-to-hand combat as well. As for my week, well, I haven't been doing much, except for rewriting my hero notebooks. Apparently All for One wanted them as soon as possible, and I didn't want it to affect my training. Again, I know very little what's in store for me. All Kurogiri is willing to tell me is it will involve Namu. I wanted to ask him about it, but he said I'm not ready. Kurogiri so far is really the only person I've been able to mark as a friend. Shigaraki isn't a talker. All for One only appears digitally, so Kurogiri is the only one even around. Turns out we have a bit in common, particularly for chess. The days have been flying past me. All I can really think about is my soon-to-be training. What weapons does he want me to use? What hand-to-hand combat style? Am I going to have a costume? At the thought of costume, my mind froze. Oh gosh, am I going to have to one of those skimpy outfits pro-hero females wear? Let's just say Kurogiri's evening involved helping me from small panic attack and trying to calm me down. This is a line if you couldn't tell it was a line, because it's a line. It's been nearly a week since Deku's disappearance. No one knows where she is, nor can they determine her location. Some say she ran away. Others think a villain captured her. While a lot of people were confused about her disappearance, I wasn't. She's just nothing but a scared chicken who can't do anything for herself. She's a useless, worthless, quirkless girl. Does she not know what her mom is going through? Getting captured. Yeah, right. No villain would consider her worth their time. I certainly didn't. What happened to her is her fault, and she doesn't deserve such a loving mother, if that's how she's going to treat her. Either way, it doesn't matter for me where she is now, because in 10 months' time, I'll be heading to UA, the school I know I'll get into. I'll have to double my workout routine to be at my peak performance. What's amazing is that I know Deku will never get into U. Now, I couldn't help but smirk knowing she was never going to get in my way. She was out of my life for good. I hear the bell ring. In only 10 months, I'll be out of this dump of a school and become the #1 hero without a doubt. I exit my seat and join my 2 companions. We continue to head down the street until my second companion breaks the silence. So I heard there's restricted part of the forest. They say there's radiation barrels near a lake. We should check it out. Idiot. I whack him on the head for his sheer stupidity. Idiot. I can't do any of that. If I get caught, I'll lessen my chance of getting into UA. My friends stare at me in shock as we stand there in the street. What, you think I can't make it into UA? They were clearly taken off by my answer to their silence question until Straw Fingers replied. No, you'll make it into U. No doubt. It's just that we're going to miss you. I couldn't help but cringe at his reply. It sounded like something from a cheesy romance flick. Of course I'll make it into UA, so don't you dare ever doubt me. You got that? I leaned my body forward towards them, causing them to back up and give a silent nod. I huff out of anger at them and continue down the street. With stupid Deku gone, I can finally be the #1 herp. Not that she ever stood a chance. My angered expression turns into a devilish smirk. Just you wait, Yua, I'll be better than everyone soon, even All Might. This is a line if you couldn't tell it was a line, because it's a line of words. I finally clammed down after my little panic attack. If you didn't know, I'm not one to really what people would say shed some skin. Of course, I've always been happy with my figure and appearance, but I can never rack up the nerve to go to the beach wearing what most females wear. It just puts me off. Because of this, I've actually never learnt to swim, which is rather disappointing considering I've always wanted to swim. The rest of the day acted out as normal, or at least as normal as a villain could get. I spent most of my time trying and failing to figure out my training. All for one wanted it to be a secret, but why? The question bothered me, knowing no matter how hard I tried, I'd never get an answer. The minutes were feeling slower and slower, as I slowly block out what little noises are in my room. What to do. Maybe I can go out and find something to do. Nah. While I wanted to kick that thought away, I knew deep down that this was the quickest way I could actually pass the time. No, you can't go. You've only been missing for a week. People will still be after you. I gave a depressing sigh, admitting my inner critic won. Many boring hours later, I was on my bed praying for something interesting to happen. I gaze upon the clock. What's the time clock? Let's see, it's only 4 p.m. I've been on my bed for only 30 minutes. It felt like hours. I had completed all my notebooks 30 minutes ago, and now I have nothing to do. I give up figuring what I could do and decided that Kurogiri might have a chore. Just anything to pass the time. I roll over my bed until I reach the edge, slowly hopping and giving a weak slow walk towards the bar. Kurogiri, is there anything I can do? I'm bored, I can't think of anything to do. I didn't want to ruin the man's peace. I already felt guilty, feeling like I was a shotgun going off in a field of grass. I know how you feel. It can get pretty boring if you have nothing to do. My boredom turned into disappointment. I have nothing to do, and this is the last day until I start training. I had lost all hope until I'm not doing anything myself. Just cleaning really, which doesn't always pass the time. You said you're rather good at chess, right? Well, it just so happens I play chess as well. The little friendly competition can't hurt. Instead of thanking him for offering to play chess, my competitive instincts activate, which rarely happens, and I immediately respond. Bring it on, I'll take you down. I don't when this competitive spirit spawned, but I known that Kakin was the one who forged it. Kurogiri wasn't lying. I haven't had an opponent this challenging since forever. We were so engaged in our battle that I didn't even know how much time passed. What was 4 in the evening was now 7 o'clock. I was shocked to know how much time had passed. But my battle isn't over yet. So far it was 3 for me and 3 for Kurogiri. This last match decides the winner. Our battle continues. It was fierce, cruel, and we lost many troops, but I refused to be taken down. You got this, Izumi. No one has ever beat. Oh wait, what? Like a cliché moment, Kurogiri had pinned my king. My queen couldn't reach them, and my other troops couldn't reach as well. I haven't lost in years. It was kinda refreshing knowing I had an opponent that couldn't go down that easily. That was a very well-rounded game, Miss Midoriya. Now I may appear as gentlemanlike, but when it comes to chess, I could already feel the smug look emerging from his face covered in mist. I didn't need to see it in order to know it was there. I sighed in defeat. It didn't help that every time he spoke, there was this mocking tone to it, like he's secretly saying you lose. I win. After packing up the chessboard and pieces, I head to my room. This is exactly what I needed to pass the time. Before I could leave, Kurogiri tells me the wait. I haven't had an opponent that could beat me in years, Miss Midoriya. You were a worthy opponent. I couldn't help but feel prideful, even if I did lose. However, it didn't take long for a smug comment to reach me. Just next time, try not to make it easy. I may not be able to see his face, but I didn't need so, as my face's reaction to his comment was enough to know. I was about to reply with what would be a lame insult, but I decided to calm down and take a better reply instead. You win this time, Kurajiri. But next time, I'll destroy you. My voice was way too enthusiastic, but I know next time we play, I would win. After a little chat, I walk off, get dressed into PJs and slump on my bed, pulling the covers over me. Tomorrow, I finally start training. This is it. Tomorrow, I finally get to become a better person. In a physical way, not moral way. I can't wait to do this. This is a line if you couldn't tell it was a line, because it's a line. The next day. I hate this. So you know how excited I was to do this. Wrong. I woke up so ready to practice. I finally got to train, and I've been practicing with my weapons too. All for One wanted me to use the katana, shurikens, and for some reason the tomahawk. When I asked him why the tomahawk, he replied with some both reasonable but odd, the tomahawk is a weapon not to underestimate. It can be used at close combat if thrown. That part made sense to me. The next part didn't. Also, in my opinion, they look what you teens refer as badass. I cringed at his reply. Sure, they were cool, but it was just really cringy coming from him. To think All for One, the most powerful underworld boss who can rival All Might, would say something like that. It really showed that despite his power, he was still a man, and not everything he did was villainous. Apart from the 3 weapons of choice, All for One wanted me to use the capturing weapon, like the one Eraserhead uses. Since I didn't want to refer to it capturing weapon every time, I referred to it as cow, which stood for capturing offensive weapon. Remember, Izumi, this is your first day. As you improve, you'll get used to it. Now continue fighting Minamu. I gasped for air, replied back. While All for One was going to teach me hand-to-hand combat, well, more like train videos. He wanted me to create my own fighting style that would reflect me. Currently, it sucks. But no matter how hard it is, no matter the pain, I will keep on fighting and prove no matter who you are, anyone can be powerful. You're improving, no doubt. Keep this up, and I wouldn't be surprised if you master everything. I give a weak smile in return. He may be a villain, but murderous, patriotic. But he's putting faith in me. He believes in me. I will not let him down. With that, I continue training. 10 months later. I'm finally here. These bastards don't stand a chance against me. I look around. We're in a giant indoor stadium with hundreds of chairs. At the center is Loudmouth. What has his name? Doesn't matter. As he gives us the basic premise of the training, talking about the 1PS, 2PS, 3Ps, and this random 0Ps which this Sonic knockoff keeps talking about. His constant talking is getting on my nerves. It reminds me too much of Deku. I snap when this loudmouth answers all the necessary questions and still keeps going. Just shut up, would ya? Your constant talking is annoying. The Sonic knockoff looks at my direction with stunned eyes. Apologize. I did not mean to make you uncomfortable with my talking. I simply just want every detail we can get. His excuse is believable. For now. I scoff and look away, signaling in my own way I'm good. Loud mouth then continues with some random things I don't care about. All that runs through my mind is one simple phrase: I'm better than you, Deku. Slowly my angered face turns into a villainous smirk. So remember how ready I was to start training? Well, I think I can sum it up in one word. Hell. Every day I wake up at 7 a.m. and finish at 9 p.m. I've felt so tired or exhausted in my life. My stamina depletes, my muscles are strained, and every day I can feel the sick pleasure Shigaraki gets from dumping cold water to wake me up, saying it's to prepare your cold tolerance. Maybe the building was a better option. Apart from improving my body, I'm also learning to use whatever weapons I wish to use. My choices I do not regret. I decide to learn the capturing weapon the pro hero Eraserhead uses. Apart from that, I also wanted to learn how to use the tomahawk. I don't know why, I just always thought it looked cool. So in total, I have my training, capturing weapon practice, tomahawk practice. For 10 whole months, I'll have to do this plus any additional training Kurogiri wishes to add. Sensei trusted Kurogiri with my training, and my god is it cruel. Unlike most people who train, Kurogiri wanted to instead use Namu. I already know what they are. Frankly, there's nothing I do for them, but I can't help but feel bad. The training room is rather basic. A concrete room with a hanging light bulb and floor mats for combat training. The room always got stuffy after hours of training with my sweat dripping off me as I fall unconscious. I didn't know what Sensei saw in me. But if I want to prove myself, I need to get my act together. Or else I would have failed my new goal. If I lose this, then I would have failed Kaken, my mother. All Might in some sense and Sensei. I can't fail. Not now and not ever. Police station. I have nothing. It's been 5 months since I've been given this case, and I have no clue where she is. Izumi Midoriya just disappeared like a ghost without a clue in sight. What happened to you, Izumi? What happened? So far, this is my 5th cup of coffee today. I've been sitting in my chair for extended periods of hours, and my neck is telling me to get off. Maybe I could use a break, just to relax. My plans are halted when Toshinori Yagi, or better known as All Might to the public. He was currently wearing a white shirt and green cargo pants, which seemed to be a size or two over for him. Toshinori, glad to have some company. I've been sitting at my chair for so long, I wonder if I can't move, half-jokingly as a gentle smile appears across his face. I'm serious, Toshinori, I can't actually get up. Trying to say that with a straight face was much harder than it looks. His smile turns into shock. Did he just realize now I was serious? Didn't matter as Toshinori turned into his hero form and carried me off the chair and onto the couch, hoping blood start flowing properly. Apologize, my friend. It's been a while since I've been able to relax. I've recently accepted a job offer at UA High. I wish to make a first good impression. I blurted out, laughing, possibly helping the blood return to my legs. I continue to laugh as Toshinori's face continues to wonder what's wrong. After my little session, I calm down, still with a grin at the edge of my lips. I doubt you can make a bad impression. You're All Might, the symbol of peace. You've saved hundreds of lives, an inspiration to all future heroes. Unless you destroy the school or eat someone's lunch, I'd say you'll have no problem. I give him a cheery smile. He may be the symbol of peace, but even he needs boost of self-esteem every now and then. He returns the smile before changing the subject. So how has the search gone? I was eager to reply sarcastically, but now was not the time. After a single sigh, I explain. Not good. I have little to nothing to work on. I've viewed the security footage multiple times, and it all leads to suicide. I let the information sink in before continuing. Problem is, no body has been found. All I know is that she was in a red dress of all things, had a bag of items, and then headed into a park and hospital. She then walks into a less than safe part of town and disappeared with no trace. I didn't know exactly how he would respond. The gloom in his eyes are visible to almost anyone, but so was curiosity. After a few minutes of awkward silence, I raise my voice to speak. We don't know where she is, or if she's still alive. She showed many signs of suicide. The dress is most likely an important part of her life or event. The park must have something behind it. She often volunteered at the hospital, and the bag contained most likely valuable items to her. Silence filled the room once again. What's she like? The question seemed odd. Like asking a friend what someone's like. It left me dumbfounded until I could process what he actually meant. Oh, I see. Well, from pictures, she's female. She's rather on the short side at 5 feet and 3 inches. Wears rather baggy clothes from the few photos we have. Green emerald eyes. freckles, and her most iconic feature, dark green hair. While I explain her appearance, All Might's appearance slowly changed from a curious one to a horrified one. Toshi, he continued to stay silent, the guilt spreading through his face. When did she disappear? His raised voice concerned me, but I complied. Roughly a week or two after you stopped the sludge villain. Why do you ask? I already knew what was going on. Toshinori has encountered this girl before. He continues to stay silent until I speak again. You saw her, didn't you? I didn't need to ask. He simply nodded his head. I could already picture his outcome. He'll think he's not worthy to work as a teacher. That he's a failure. It's all my foul. No, it's not. I cut him off before he can blame himself. Who knows how long she's planning this? It could have been weeks before you saw her. Frankly speaking, she's been bullied, pushed, abused verbally, mentally, and physically. She's also quirkless, which make up 78% of all suicides on the globe. I try to reason, but he counters back. But what if I pushed her? What if I was her last hope in this society, and I blatantly stated, sorry, you can't become a hero? What kind of hero is that? Out of sheer fury, I punch him in the jaw, snapping him out of his guilt. I was tempted to yell back, but I decided to take a different approach. Look, you didn't know. I get you want to save everyone, but not everyone can be saved. Humans are dying every day. But that doesn't mean we should all mope around all gloomy. It's just how life works. I really hope my words at last made sure he started teaching. With new villains appearing everywhere, they need the best of the best to teach them. The room was silence, with only the small humming from the computer bringing sound. His face was hidden from view. Slowly, I see his head rising upwards to face me. Instead of the guilt look before, he had an innocent smile. Thanks, I really needed that. It was moments like these that were rare, so I make sure to remember them. I give him a nod with a smile. Anytime, Toshi. Now I got to start working again. He nods and leaves the room, shutting the door behind. Now back to neck pain it is. 1 month later. It's been 6 months, and she still hasn't been found. It's her own good damn fault, too weak to face reality, as if she would jump off a building. I don't care what she thinks. Her mother is worried sick, and my mom won't stop talking about Inko's crying state. Stupid Deku, stupid Deku, stupid Deku, stupid Deku. Even when she's gone, she's annoying. She doesn't deserve such a loving mother, if that's how she'll treat her. Although at least she has some courage. She's ran away, or they can't find the body. Ugh, even when no one's around, she's still annoying me. Doesn't matter where she is now. If anything, this means I'll never have to see her again. My lips curling into a grin with the anger turning into determination. Over the past 6 months, I've been training, practicing my quirk, stamina building, body building, and working on my diet. I started in 4 months' time, and without that useless Deku, I'll have no distractions. Excuse me, I glare behind, watching what appears to be a bony man, with baggy clothing, blonde messy hair with 2 bangs on each side. What do you want? Already losing my patience. Do you know a girl by the name of Izumi Midoriya? His words paralyzed my body. No matter what, I can never escape her. My reply was a mix of annoyance and anger combined with a snarl. Yeah, and what if I do? God, I hope this would finish soon. My name is Toshinori Yagi, and this is my partner Naomasa. I didn't even realize he was here. Maybe it's because of all the people on the street. I mean, the guy looks so average you'd wonder if he's a robot. After they introduced themselves, they started asking questions about her, including about the red dress. Yeah, that was one memory that would stay buried forever. Of course, I didn't budge about it no matter what, so they gave up and continued with the questions. The questions were just that, questions. Things like, how long have you known her, to what's your relationship towards her? Overall, it was getting very boring until the final question came up. Do you know what might have caused the disappearance or possible suicide attempt? I didn't really want to answer, mainly because no matter how much I denied it, I played a part in it. So instead, I tiptoe my way around it. Well, she was determined to become a hero, no matter what. Didn't matter what you did. She dreamed of becoming a hero, no matter what. The Neosama guy started writing it down while Boney looked very pale and was sweating. They asked me to continue, and so I did. I'm not sure what happened really. For roughly a week, she just seemed depressed, angry, and just different. He knew actually why she had changed. She became human. Her heroic ideologies were shattered by someone, and he could see it. Her emotion could be over the top, particularly sadness, anger, and jealousy. I had to tell them, even if it meant they could help her, even if she didn't deserve. I was going to be a pro-hero. Maybe this would look good on my record. After a sigh, I explained the change to them, grabbing their full attention. Her whole life, she was a saint among all, like All Might himself. She was always volunteering at the hospital, doing whatever she can to help. She never once complained. She never let her emotions get the better of her, always staying positive no matter what. I let my words sink in before continuing. Seriously, Boney looked like he'd nearly faint. And then, she just stopped. Someone shattered her. Her whole saint attitude was because she wanted to be a hero. Heroes never get angry, always smile. They're symbols of good, you could say. But after what happened to her crushed her dream to be a hero. Now wherever she is, she has to deal with a whole bunch of emotions she's never really dealt with. Happy. My snappy reply didn't affect Boney over there. He looked even more pale, his sweat even dripping off his face. The tension between us grew with only the crowd's chatter to bound us. After what felt like an eternity, they finally leave thanking me for the information. What information? I just told Seem why she went missing. I didn't give them a map of where she is. Today was the day. 10 months of grueling training. I still have no clue why my training has even been so rushed. All I know is that we're planning something, and it's within the next 10 months. 10 months I spent training, pushing my body to the limits. I continue to lay in my bed, savoring the warmth and soft feeling. No more Shigaraki chucking ice-cold water on me. That was no doubt a relief. As I stare at the clock, watching the minutes go by, I slowly leave the bed, and I'm ever so aware of my surroundings. I enter the bathroom and strip myself before turning on the shower. I stand in the running warm water reviewing the last 10 months and why I was so rushed. Apart from my training, Kurogiri taught me a multitude of skills, which to be honest surprised me how much he can do. You'd never even think he could use a bow. Granted, I couldn't. This is a line because I say it's a line, so it's a line because it's a line. After getting dressed in simple dark green trousers, black t-shirt, and a dark blue hoodie with a pure white outlining, I head down to the bar, spotting Kurogiri cleaning a glass. Is this all he does? As much as I wanted to question it, I decided to at that. Kurogiri raised his head from the glass, now aware of the presence. Morning, Miss Midoriya. His formal tone always catches me off guard. Please, Izumi is fine. He only replied with a nod before pulling out my breakfast, almost out of nowhere. Thanks. I put on a smile, grateful that there's someone here who's socializing. Shigaraki, on the other hand, that's a different story. As I continue to eat my breakfast in the modern wooden bar, I gaze up to see Kurogiri using a phone to message someone. I didn't even know he had one. As I eat my meal in silence, Kurogiri finally speaks. All for one is wondering where your notebook is. His tone was stone cold, sending shivers down my spine and causing me to gulp nervously. Finally working up enough respond to sorry. I've been real busy with tea training. It's not done yet, but I only have 2-3 pages left before I can spend it in. My voice cracked about 3 times, which was embarrassing enough considering I still stutter quite often. Kurogiri looks down on his phone typing a message, before turning up to me with a reply. I suggest you finish those last 2 pages today. All for one will probably not be plea. Before he could even finish, I ran, dashing up towards my room. determined to complete those notebooks. But not before shouting, "Well done today," tinting my cheeks ever so slightly. My determination to finish those notebooks will not fade. This is a line because I say it's a line, so it is a line. After spending 2 whole hours analyzing the last one, not 2, not 3, but 4 heroes, I had finally written everything about them: weaknesses, strengths, combat, etc. Every month, Sensei asked for a notebook containing weaknesses and strengths on every hero. Surprisingly, though, I haven't been asked or requested to study All Might. Was he waiting for the right time? Didn't matter. I wasn't going to question Sensei. Another thing taking me off guard was that it's been a few days. We were supposed to do something in 10 months. It's been 10 months and a few days. I'll have to ask about that too. I wiped the sweat off my brow while carrying the notebook with me down to the bar. Both Kurogiri and Shigaraki are there. Only something's different. Kurogiri looks the same, but Shigaraki had disembodied hands on his shoulders, neck, arms, and side of his chest. Is this the event? I receive a greetings from Kurogiri and a grunt from Shigaraki. Midoriya. Was this possibly what I've been, Midoriya, training for? If so, then what is it? Attack, robbery. Midoriya. I'm snapped out of my thoughts at the sound of Shigaraki yelling right in my ear. Finally noticing he had my attention, he spoke with his raspy voice. This is the event, we'll call it, you've been training for. Kurogiri has prepared you a discusi. Also, Sensei wishes to talk to you. The last part took me off guard. Was it the notebooks, perhaps? Probably. I see a portal open before my eyes. The purple mist surrounds me as I enter through it. My surroundings change from the wooden, almost cozy bar to the cold, isolated, abandoned factory before me. I look up ahead to see Sensei in his usual chair, monitoring the screen before him. Somehow, Midoriya. His voice was completely neutral. I couldn't hear any emotion. It was almost like a computer. Why, yes, Sensei. Was I in trouble? Sure, I was a little late, but in my defense, I've been training every day to absurd levels. Do you have the notebook I requested? His more voice casual. Quickly, I hand him my notebook, and before he can speak, I explained my reasoning behind being, which he took quite well. No worries, Miss Midoriya. You've become a great asset to the league. In my book, everyone makes mistakes. But we must learn to accept those mistakes and learn from them. I wasn't sure where this was going, but I need some more answers. Without hesitation, I ask, Sensei, why did you call me here? For a moment, it was silent until he spoke. Today, we attack the Ushjavua. You will accompany Tamira and Kurogiri and aid them however needed. As for why I called you here, I have personal request. Personal request. From Sensei himself. I need this answer now. But before I could even respond, he cuts me off. I'm afraid I can't tell you now. Depending on your performance will depend if I tell you or... So don't fail us. League or not. The consequences will reflect you actions. I gulp. I need it to success. Prove I'm worth it. Behind me, I see the same purple mist portal I once enter reappear. I walk towards it, taking slow steps, processing my mission. Aid in the attack. I turn towards Sensei one last time. With all my courage, I look him directly on the face and speak. I will not fail. I quickly turn around and into the purple mist portal, unaware of the sly smile on Sensei's lips. He faces towards the monitor, speaking to himself. Well, All Might. I can't believe you let such talent turn in our favor. This is a line because I say it's a line, so it's a line. I was back in the bar, the purple portal closing behind me. Before I could register my surroundings, Shigaraki tossed something directly into my face. I only just caught it staring at the bag. What contents were in were soft, although I felt heavy parts inside the bag as a swell. I glance up, facing Shigaraki's face, the disembodied covering his face, leaving his pale light blue hair and blood eyes remain visible. Put that on. We're leaving in 10 minutes. Don't be late or you'll regret it. I gulp and quickly rush up to my room, shutting the door behind. After take a quick glance around my room before opening the bag and taking out the clothes and gear. I may need possibly a little more time. Very, 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 very small time skip. I'm currently looking into the bathroom mirror. Thank God it wasn't anything flashy, let alone revealing. The discussy at hand start off as basic black long pants and a black t-shirt, black shoes with metallic-like soles and shin-faded black shin guards. A belt wrapped around my waist carry a small array of items from a taser to a pocket knife. A black up-zipped hoodie with dark metallic outlining covered t-shirt underneath. Inside the hoodie were pockets containing more various little items, each pocket with a zipper as well. Fingerless gloves covered my hands, with brass knuckles fused within the knuckle region of the gloves. A tomahawk hung on my hips for easy access, and my capturing weapon rested upon my shoulders and back neck. Lastly was the mask. It was similar to design to my original hero costume, with slight modifications. The metallic muzzle, which was meant to be similar to All Might's smile, was replaced with the same muzzle, only the back of the metallic teeth turn upwards, giving the muzzle a vile grin. The teeth look as those of canine teeth. The hood from the hoodie draped over my hair. Only this hood was different. It was stiff and resembled metal plating, offering protection. The last part was a part of red visor like googles. They were sleek and almost looked like glasses, which also covered the nose. I was kind of proud looking at my discussy. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't revealing, it was comfortable. I'll have to thank Kurogiri for making this. Walking down Teary Hall and into the bar, I see Kurogiri and Shigaraki waiting, Shigaraki being the first to speak. 9 minutes and 56 seconds. You just made it. I once again gulped, knowing very well Shigaraki would gladly remove my eyes. Everything is ready, Tamira. Shall we leave? Kurogiri's formal tone seems to never leave. Almost. But first, Midoriya. I look up at Shigaraki, waiting for him to continue. The plan is simple. We attack the Asji. Your goal is to subdue students. It would be better if you killed them, but we can live with that for now. Kurogiri will separate the students into the zones you suggested. They look be weakest. We're trusting you, judgment. Don't let us down. I frantically nod. I was eager, scared, determined, and ready. I watch as the portal before us opens, and before Shigaraki enters, I reply, I'll show everyone what true power is, that even someone who's quirkless can fight. Shigaraki simply turned his head towards before chuckling a little. Well then, this is your time to shine. All right, everyone, today we're doing something different, spoke our homeroom teacher, Mr. Aziawa, in his 24/7 bored tone. Despite that, everyone went silent for the news. Today we're going to be going somewhere to practice your Rikyu skills. You have until after lunch, he said as the lunch bell rang. I closed my notebook, pull out the drawer within my desk, and slid it into there. After getting up from my seat, Spiky Hair decided to follow me. Even when I told him to piss off, he continued to follow me down the hall and into the lunchroom. Knowing I couldn't get him to leave, I simply do the next best thing: ignore him. As much as I hate to admit it, Izumi's disappearance still haunts me even to this today. Even if her death isn't confirmed, I still worry. But I'd never admit that to anyone ever. Heroes are never weak, physically or emotionally. I walk over towards the food counter. You know where people line up, but in schools, grabbing a plate and shoving through people to get the only good food here, ignoring the angry yells and Spiky Hair's protest. After finding a seat and annoyingly Spiky Hair joining, I eat my food. Would it have been that bad if Izumi joined? Would it really? I thought. No, don't think like that. She was useless, pathetic, quirkless. Only the strong can be heroes. My reassuring thoughts were cut off after realizing not only Spiky Hair was here, in this table, but also Sonic knockoff, Round Face, Icy Hot, Ponytail, Toad, and Pikachu were all either sitting at the table or right beside my table with another table. I sigh, getting everyone's attention before glaring back at their stares. Can't you see I want to eat in peace? Their somehow dumbfounded expressions anger me more. Let me rephrase that. Piss off, I say. Before I can do anything, spiky hair speaks. Bro, we're worried. 1 minute you're a raging bull, the next you're almost silent. I didn't care what they thought. I don't need their help, and I'll solve this on my own. I leave my meal behind, exiting the table and leaving the lunchroom, completely ignoring their protest for me to stay. Idiots, I mumble before walking off. This is a line because I say it's a line, so it is a line of a line before the line. So this is the USJ, not bad, I mumble. The USJ's exterior was a massive silver dome, added with the rows of lines creating cubes, though for some reason they're purple. I glance at some people who were in awe of the massive structure, mumbling to themselves. As we follow our teacher to the entrance lies two rather large doors, which the students at the front opened. The outside was something, but the inside was insane. Massive areas dedicated to recuse, from the red and blue smaller, but equally large domes to the mountains and city ruins. Holy shit, was all I could think. As the other student view in amazement, and so do I. A figure in a space suit can be seen walking up to us. I think I've heard of this hero from Deku. What was he? She called. 14, 15, 19. I give up trying to guess her high's name and go back to viewing the interior of the USG until Hesh decides to speak. Hesh gives a loud cough, grabbing everyone's attention. Hello everyone. My name is 13, or as many of you might know me as the space hero. 13, Hesh greeted gleefully. I could see a few students murmuring among each other, while Roundface was having a full-on fangirl meltdown. As the murmurs quiet down, 13 continues his talk. Great to know my work gets noticed. Saving civilians is top priority for any hero. And it's here you'll learn to use your quirks to save others. The students around me start to give weak cheers, ready to taking the first steps becoming heroes. But no matter what they do, I will come out on top of them all. As the already weak cheers die down, 13 starts talking again. Now, as many of you know, my quirk is called Black Hole. It allows to destroy anything on a subatomic level. As useful it is for removing debris, it can be just as easy to kill, villain or not. Control of your quirk is key to mastering it. 13 finished, making a few students sweat a little. Now, does anyone wish to explain their quirk as an example? 13 asks. Of course, most were hesitant until I started. My quirk is Explosion. It allows me to create explosions from my palms using my sweat. I replied in pride. Another student also raises their hand. My quirk is called Creation. It allows me create objects and items, excluding any kind of cellular being like living organisms. Ponytail replies. Finally, 13 chooses one last student to explain. Ooh, my quirk is called Brainwash. I can brainwash people if they reply to me. Nothing else apart from that. I could see a few students tense up. No doubt his quirk is powerful. Of course, Bubblehair had to express his perverted mind. So does mean you could brainwash the girls into stripping all their clothes off? He asked eagerly. Technically speaking, why yes, but I'd never actually use my quirk for that kind of purpose. Yu-Gi-Oh replied, get it, because his hair is really stupid. Okay, I'll let you cringe. 13 appeared to nod in agreement. You see, no matter what your quirk is, it depends on how the user uses said quirk. Bakugo's explosions could cause massive collateral damage. Momo's quirk could let her sell weapons to the underworld, and Shinso's quirk could halt even the most powerful quirk users. I could feel the air around us tense, knowing the capabilities of just a couple quirks. Fortunately today, you'll be learning how to control and use your quirk to save others, 13 continued. As 13 finished up her high speech, we all started walking towards the massive staircase leading to the center of the USG. However, before we could continue walking, a small purple vortex appeared, before suddenly expanding into a massive wall. I watched the only pro heroes talk combat stances. For a second, nothing happened until people with all kinds of quirks started walking out of the mist. "Everyone get back. These are real villains," shouted Ezerhead. I could some students frozen in fear, others mumbling to themselves and others taking combat stances, or at least a stance suitable for their quirk. At the center of the mist, three finale villains appeared. A massive muscled humanoid bird freak, a woman in black clothes mixed with possibly metal, and a creepy metal grin on her mask. Additionally was a stiff metal plate hood. The last was a man with light blue pale hair, a black long sleeve shirt, black pants, red shoes, and disembodied hands on the upper half of his face, including one covering his hand. Said villain started glancing about as if looking for someone before sighing. I was for sure All Might was here. Such a shame. I brought some many lovely friends. Maybe if we kill a few students he'll come." His voice was raspy like he hasn't drank water in years. Behind us, the same purple and black vortex appear, only this time two bright neon eyes that streak upwards upon the mist appeared. "I apologize for this intervention, but we seek to eliminate All Might. Unfortunately, you'll most likely get in the way." His tone was formal considering the situation. 13. "Stop this guy. I'll take care of the thugs below us," shouted Ezerhead, receiving a nod from 13 before jumping down the stairs, crashing and taking down villain after villain. After catching the last glimpse of Ezerhead, everyone focuses their attention on the purple mist man. "You're going down, Misty," I shout, charging, but not before Sonic Knockoff stopped me. "Stop. This is a villain. We must stick together if we are to win," he points out. "Piss off, I'm blowing him to pieces," I yell back. "Bakugo, now is not the time. Stick together and help your classmates," yells 13 yells back. I grunt in anger, but obey nonetheless. The mist man does a small HMPH before monologuing. "I do apologize, but my goal is to simply scatter you. I already have someone covering my back if you attack me," the villain replied. A new portal opened, and the same woman appeared before down at the center. Or was she a girl? 5 minutes earlier. "I'm really doing this. It's only a matter of minutes before we appear inside the USG. I've spent the past 10 months training, but I'm still nervous. These stupid hallucinations keep appearing. Sometimes they're Bakugo. Other times they're my mother or All Might. It didn't matter. They constantly taunted me, calling me useless, pathetic, and quirkless. It got so bad I've had to start taking medications to stop them. I call it a drawback, but Kurogiri, Sensei, and even Shigaraki call it a sign that I'm truly now an outcast like them." "Hey," Shigaraki says, causing me to yelp and flinch while glancing in his direction. He sighs before talking again. "Geez, if's that how you react when someone says hi, we'll have put you through a horror movie." He chuckles a little while I pale. "Anyway, you need a code name so no one can identify you through name." It's true, I haven't thought of one. Originally, I was going to use Deku as a way to revolt against Bakugo's mockery. But now I can only just feel hatred when I hear that name. That stupid, idiotic nickname. "I don't know," I grumble back. "So Deku it is," he says, causing me to glare at him. "No, no, 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 no. You will take that back now, bastard," I yell in response. At first I thought I was going to be turned to dust, but instead he just laughed. After his little session he spoke back. Looks like little Saint over here can actually talk back. His cracked lips viable now before speaking again. "You better think of something before we get there, which is about 20 Deca," I cut him off. He stares at me in silence before speaking again. "Deca? Really?" Even if I have a mask to hide behind, my cheeks still turn red from embarrassment. So what? I think it's cool. I look away feeling surprisingly sad about this. It was just a code name, right? Was it because I'm not creative enough? Smart? Good? Am I really that? Useless? Was this the problem? Will this the constant issue of me useless, therefore depressed on everything topic? I thought only saddened me further. "Hey," I turned back to Shigaraki, yelping once again. "You were mumbling depressed stuff. It was that bad, then fine. It's a good code name. Happy. I stare at him in awe. This is the first time he's been nice to me, I thought. Even if I didn't show it. It made me feel better. Ready. Why, yeah. It did. Shigaraki? My face paling. What? He asks back, harshly being his old self. C, can you please get me those medications again? I plead. Why? He snarls back. B, because I think my hallucinations are causing me to see things I should see, I reply. What kind of things? Bad things. Very, very bad things, was all I could reply back. Hopefully I don't see these during the ASG, that would be very awkward. I keep my stand still, staring down the students as they intently watched us. I had adjusted the voice moderator before my arrival, aiming for pitch to cover my own. I keep my watch on the students. Some were still eager to fight. Others looked cautious, and some looked paralyzed with fear at the sight of two villains. I loathed them, hated them. They were given something amazing, a power, accepted into the number high school for hero preparation. But in the face of true villains, they looks no better than me. These are the heroes that are going to protect civilians. They wanted to be heroes, and yet they buckle at the sight of one. My dream was denied, and instead replaced by these idiots. These no-good quirk-gifted idiots. My envy had set. These heroes of the future had shown their real colors. I hold the capturing weapon around my shoulders, ready to subdue on order. Maybe this fight for them nothing, or it was everything to me. This was my chance to prove anyone can be useful. I watch mist expand outwards towards them, blocking their view to the outside. Desperate voices from fear to anger could be heard. I let go of the capturing weapon and pull the tomahawks from the belt, holding them in my hands, waiting to strike. Deku, they've been scattered. I shall deal with those who remain present. I nod towards him. A portal next to me appears as I gradually walk through, the mist swallowing my view before arriving at natural disaster zone. The ground around was shifted and broken. Random ledges, hills could be spotted all around the place. My attention was brought to the center, where three figures were fighting many of the goons that were hired for this raid. One wore what I could describe as a very punk rock outfit, sporting a purple bob cut. The other was a very mature girl wearing very questionable gear. The last was the only guy amongst them, wearing a white t-shirt, black jeans and jacket, with a white electric pattern. I watched as they defended themselves from the simple thugs. Each criminal lunged after one of them, trying to land an attack, but failing to as the students evade. Guess they're not that bad, I mutter, the high-pitched, distorted voice covering for my real voice. As the fight prolongs on, I gradually get closer to the battlefield, my present yet to be acknowledged by anyone. I honestly was getting annoyed. Not that they didn't notice me, but that these thugs couldn't beat three kids. Did they not practice? Train? I sigh in disbelief as each thug just keeps getting knocked down. Finally deciding to make a move, I walk behind the hired thugs, gradually making my presences more aware to more of the thugs. All who of course knew I was one of the big three of this operation. As the last villain attempting to attack was knocked out, the wannabe heroes noticed their enemy had stopped attacking only to make way for me. Decided your minions weren't enough. The emo mocked, earning glares from the criminals, wanting to kill her more than ever. The other two cracking a smirk. Apparently I have no choice but to. I reply, earning angry protest from a few thugs, only to be silenced by my simple gaze under the mask. Honestly, I've enjoyed the confidence boost around others. For once I can feel something I rarely ever feel. Pride. This is my chance to show my training paid off. If it doesn't, I slightly shook my head, erasing those thoughts. I've changed for the better. 10 months of intense training, research, and preparation. I refuse to let all that work go to waste. I got to win this, for me, for the league, for all for one. I take slow steps towards them, watching their every move. I slowly reach for my tomahawk. Or that's what I wish them to think, as my hand nears my weapon. As they take their own fighting stances, I rush, quickly using my left hand to pull out 3 shurikens and throwing them. I dash right behind my first attack. Pulling out the tomahawk, I spin, building up momentum, delivering a powerful blow to the spiked ponytail girl's staff, causing her feet lose their placement and having to readjust, taking multiple steps backwards. I rear up and pull out my other tomahawk, strike the staff once again, causing the same effect. Reflexively, I high kick, hitting her chin, pursing to push against the bow staff until she could no longer hold her balance. Tumbling backwards, I ready for another strike, only to have my ears being pierced by a loud pitched sound emanating from the bob-cut hair girl. The deafening sound causing me to grunt in pain, slamming my hands against my ears to protect them. The lens on my visor cracking. Forcibly removing my hand from protecting my ear, I reach into my jacket, pull out another 3 shurikens, throwing them at her. 2 miss, but the last one successfully hitting her thigh, causing blood to leak and the piercing sound to stop as well. Recovering from the assault, I spot the creation still in front of me, getting up on my roundhouse kick, knocking her out cold. 1 down, 2 to go. I look at my opponents before me, the electric-themed student and what is now the sound-based user. Hooking 1 tomahawk on my belt, I slowly move my hand behind my back and into my jacket. Like a catapult, throw my katana towards them, intentionally missing them, but enough to distract and for them to dodge on instinct. Using this chance, I rush forwards towards the sound user, who currently is on the ground, quickly kneeing her, then slamming my fist, connecting to her head, and then the ground, knocking another one out cold. Electricity could heard behind. I sharply turn, seeing a bolt flash towards me, ducking almost immediately and lunge right. Rolling in the process and getting back up, I raise my arm with my tomahawk still there and throw again, connecting to his shin, causing blood to ooze as he tries to muffle his cries of pain. Not taking a chance, I dash forward, arm reaching out and gripping by the neck, cutting of his air. Why you be? I sucker punch him, causing blood to leak from the noise. To think they'd let someone like you into this school, I say. His eyes filled with anger, but also fear. I keep push. Tell me, what was your name? All I get is choke in response. I continue my one-sided dialogue. Interesting. The heroes of the next generation. To think they'd let someone like you in, I feel my anger rising. Before I let myself lose control, I breath, letting go of his neck and listening to his coughs and need for air. After his coughing fit ceases, he responds. Why, yeah, at less I'm not using my qui. I punch his guy, fury flowing through my veins. Calm down, Izuku. He didn't know. That's why I'm here. To people like him wrong. I breath slowly again before calmly, almost robotically replying. Quirks aren't everything, and I'm here to prove that. I speak. The look on his was that of confusion, curiosity, and disbelief. What d? Before he could speak again, I roundhouse kick again, knocking him out. For a while I just stand in silence, savoring my first victory. The thugs around me in shock as someone defeated all 3 at once. Well, I demand. We didn't ask for tourists. Head to another zone and take care of the students there. I order. The criminals around not hesitating to leave without question. I was proud. For once, I was the victor. But it's not over yet, I utter in my mind. Kaken. Your next verbal growl escaped my throat. The boy who tormented me my whole life will know justice. Putting my hand to the columns on the side of my helmet, a static could heard, Kurajiri. Take me to him. Please, I ask. The columns stay silent until his response comes. Very well. I'll be setting up a portal now. Seconds after requesting, a portal appears. I nervously walk towards the portal. I was going to finally confront him. The warm-up is over. The fight is on. I couldn't help it. I smile. Almost sadistic one appears on my lips. As my walk turns into jog, and then a dash, I'm stopped by a single voice. Izuku. I freeze. craning my head towards the voice. Front of me was the one person I couldn't confront. Hallucination or not, I couldn't. Front of me was my mom. Izuku, please, come home. I miss you so much. Tears were almost welling up in her mother's eyes. I couldn't move, I couldn't respond. I could only stare at the illusion before me. Please, Izuku, forget all this, let's go home. I have a nice dinner at home for you. Her voice cracking with her words. Mom? Please. I need to do this. I whimper back. You don't have to, Izuku. I'll be proud of you. Just please come back, she begged, tears pouring out of her eyes. And no, you're just an illusion. Something to pull me down just like this entire world is. I let my voice loose, anger spilling in small tears that could be seen if the mask was off. Which by now it was. No, I panic and turn to the next voice. My eyes widen, only ever seeing him once. And once is all I wanted to see. The symbol of peace and crusher of my dreams. All Might. Young Midoriya, please. You can set this right. Reveal their plans, locations. You could be the hero we need. We'd happily accept some who helped us stop this villainous group. His voice bellowed with hope. Please, young Midoriya, we need you. The world needs you, his voice calm. My eyes start to water, making my vision blurry. I can only dream this would happen. It doesn't matter anymore, Ray. The world will never accept me. And no amount of can fix that. You hear me? Nothing can fix this broken world. My sobs are out of control. I fall to my knees, hands covering my face. All Might didn't sway and continued. That is why we must take action. Show the world anyone can be a hero. Prove the villains wrong, civilians wrongs, students wrong. Even prove me wrong, young Midoriya. I wish his word could hold truth. But it was only a lie. I've seen and experienced firsthand the discrimination against quirkless people suffer. Bakugo being a perfect example. As the two illusions in front of bicker about what I should do, I was unaware of the illusion behind me. Is Midoriya. The voice was calm, cold, and emotionless. Through my teary eyes, I made out the person in front of me. All for one. Please do not listen to these fools. Neither of them believed you. Your own mother didn't, All Might didn't, but I did. I look up at him. He walked towards me, sitting down on one knee, placing a non-existent hand on my shoulder. I gave you a home, a place for you to thrive. A place where you are judged by your character, skills, and motive. Not some biological gene you have no control over. His words were that of comfort. I continued to sob, the tears running down my cheeks and into the ground. Did they ever see your success? I shook my head. Did they ever try and support you? Teach you? I shook my head. And yet, despite that, here you have defeated 3U, a student. Did you think All Might or your mother could have ever seen that? I shook my head again. No, they didn't, but I did. Even if you question the path I've set, I gave you everything. Whether you like it or not, you owe me. But that doesn't mean you have to hate it. I stood there in silence, the tears finally disappearing. Oh, okay, I reply weakly. My body shook with guilt. I'm questioning the man who gave me everything. I will not be a disappointment. I know you won't. I look up at him again. Did he read my thoughts? He is part of your mind. That I am, he replied. I almost start crying again. The fact I was letting other people try and separate me from the man who gave me hope saddened me. My eyes meet the scared flesh of his face before he spoke again. You've still got a mission to complete. So far you're doing very well. My eyes widen before I stand up. Oh, of course, his grin widens. I suggest you get to it now. Shigaraki will be waiting. I nod, picking up my helmet and placing it back in position. I won't let you down. All for one, I say coldly. Walking towards the misty portal, completely ignoring the eavesdropper who had awoken from unconsciousness and had listened to the entire thing. This girl goes by the name of Momo Yaoyorozu, who as of right now was many things, confused being one. She had always seen what was on TV. Bad guy gets defeated by good guy. But this doesn't sound like a villain, she spoke to herself. I slammed my palm against the chameleon quirk user, igniting my hands, sending an explosion with my hand. The quirk user was tossed back at the force, slamming against the destroyed concrete, knocking him out. I merely glare at the villains in front of me. Useless, all of them. I look towards the extra. I see two unconscious villains around him, his arms currently in a hardened state. I grunt and scan the area around me, eyeing any possible enemies. None could be seen, letting a sigh of relief and walk towards and past the extra. Hurry, Stonehenge, we're done here. I gruff out, earning a barely audible sigh from him. Just let me take a breather. Using my quirk for long periods of time takes a lot out of me, he replies. I grunt, but knowingly lean against a wall in acceptance. The only sounds were that of his breathing, fire crackling, and the sweet sound of the villains groaning in pain. These are just small fry, remembering the other three as well. It's clear these villains are nothing more than street thugs. Those first three plus the big guy are clearly the most powerful. I gaze out on the destruction-themed city before us, scanning for any more villains. Looking over towards the red hair, I watch cheerfully walk over to me. All right, I'm ready and pumped to beat some villains, he said with a smile. I chuckle, ready to beat those villains into the ground, letting my own smile cover my face. You Abaka bro, you good? You look like you're gonna kill someone, he asked nervously, only to get angry shouting from me. Our one-sided verbal fight ends when we notice the presence of another figure. Turning our heads, we see in front of us one of the girl from before, her face clouded by the grinning muzzle mask, the eye sockets sleek and nearly connected with blood-red lenses, impossible to see through. The metal-plated stiff hood covering the back, top and sides of her head. Wearing the same metal outline now zipped hoodie pants, with the capturing weapon laying on her shoulders, covering the neck very upper body. In her hands, she held the same two tomahawks from before. Instantly, we stance in fighting positions, my hands at my hips and red hair's arms hardened and acting like blades. The user before us travels her hand, pulling the zip hidden under the capturing weapon. Pulling down revealed dozens of empty pockets, buckling the tomahawks on her belt. She slides the hoodie off, somehow disconnecting the hood itself and leaving her upper body in a simple black t-shirt covered by a gray and black striped vest. I snorted. She didn't have it before, probably a last-ditch fashion statement. I ready myself for my next fight. It was clear she was here to fight. Red hair looked uncomfortable, noticing my glare at him. His face in distress. Should have gone take a leak while you the chance, I sigh, earning protest from the redhead. It's not that. I just don't hit girls. But I can't leave a bro behind, he said. I slapped my palm to my face, giving him an annoyed glare. Fine, don't help, I didn't knee. I was quickly cut off by the lack of air forced out my lungs by a foreign. My eyes peeked down towards the object of pain, my stomach with an iron-protected fist. Using my explosions, I send myself backwards out of her range, creating two more to stop the momentum. Glaring at her, I snarl, ready to lunge at her, only to halted by a hardened arm. I furiously try to swipe away at the hand, which only caused the hardened quirk user try and explain. I thought you were too much of a wuss to fight girls, I snarl at him, pushing his arm aside. I said I wouldn't attack her, it's just not right. But I also said I'd never leave a bro behind, so I'll compromise. You attack, I defend, he offers. I didn't want his help. Hero didn't need help. They solved it on their own. However, my opponent I know little of, her skills, quirk, or capabilities. Grunting in defeat, I sternly look him in the eye. I don't need your help. But if and only if she gets me somehow, then you can help. I grunt out the last part. The chivalrous quirk user tries to protest, but it was too late. I hurl to explosions behind me, propelling me forwards towards my target, ready throw a right swing explosion at her. Throwing my arm, I barely see the top of the metallic hood, before I feel the brute attack of metal kicked against my stomach again, causing me to lurch back and cough minor blood. Seeing another attack heading my way, I lurch back, throwing both my arms and releasing an explosions. The smoke clouds the area in front of me. I warily lean in, trying to hear the faintest sounds only to be alerted by the redhead. "The right," he shouts. Sharply turning my head, I duck, dodging the kick, and then throwing another explosion, successfully making contact and sending her down to her back. I smirk, prepping the sweat in my hands for another strike, only to watch in shock as she gets up. How? I nearly mutter. I look at the damage. Shirt underneath had minor scraps. The vest was relatively unscathed. So, the vest wasn't just a last-minute clothing option. Looking towards my enemy, I furrow my brow, focusing on her. Giving up on waiting, I charge at her, a battle cry audible for anyone to hear. As I dash, I see her charging in as well, but is silent. I throw a right swing, ready take her out. We close the distance, the nitro-infused sweat igniting. I swing arm at her only for her to completely dodge, sending 2 strips of the cloth weapon, holding both my wrist in place and swing my body force around. It was only seconds but felt minutes. I watched as 2 strips of the clothed weapon now subdued my wrist. I saw the tomahawk, ready to connect with my shoulder. I close my eyes. I wait for the pain to appear, only to hear it clashing against something else. Opening my eyes, I see the red Hikirishima blocking the axe-like weapon from cutting into me. My eyes widen, and on instinct, I release 2 massive explosions in front of me, covering the area in smoke and causing ringing in my ears. The smoke dissipated quickly, letting me catch Kirishima's appearance. Yelling to catch his attention, he turns and starts cheerfully jogging over. What happened to not hitting girls? I mock only to get a defeating laugh from him. Well, I mean, she's technically a villain. If I'm going to become a hero, I need to fight all kinds of villains. It's just that I'm taking baby steps, he replies, watching as I gave him a confused stare. Sighing, he continued, I didn't actually hurt her. I just stop her from hurting you. Big difference, he counters. I grunt but knowingly nod. Look, I underestimated my opponent, so I would really prefer you took action, I grunt out, carefully picking my words. It took Kirishima a bit to register, but after he grinned, giving a thumbs up, I growl but no less arm myself again, the smoke completely gone, but also the enemy. Suspiciously looking around, I see an array of rocks and debris around. She's hiding. Behind you, shout Kirishima. Sharply craning my entire body around, I see the same villain charging at me. Before I could block, I see her foot was fault by the redhead himself, giving me a determined smirk. You attack, I defend, is all he needed to say. Pushing back, the hardening quirk user throws his arms out, knocking the villain off balance. I rush in, successfully landing a blow, knocking her back, before she could run up and attack again, this time using the tomahawk. Kirishima once again blocks the second attack, holding her weapons in place. Repeating, I throw my arms again, manically grinning at the chaos about to happen. Before the force of my swing could connect, she lets go of weapon, pulling Kirishima with her. Placing him right in front of my assault, I desperately turned, my own explosion disconnecting me off the ground and into the concrete wall. The pain in my back ached, like my stomach had taken the brute force, nearly making me want to vomit. Slowly but surely, I start crawling up, leaning against the wall, feeling the aching to start to soothe all so slightly. Steadily standing on my feet, I glance over to Kirishima in an ever-losing battle. His quirk wasn't holding up. Cuts could be seen, the limp in his leg easily visible. I grip my hands harder. Heroes defeat the villain. I couldn't let this slide. No, I won't let it slide. A raging scream escapes my throat, adrenaline still pumping as I charge forward. The stupid redhead lost because he wouldn't fight. But I will. Catching her attention, I propel myself with my explosions, ready to tackle her and beat her. Lunging forward, I grinned as she backed off, Kirishima behind me. savagely pulling the pin on the grenade on my costume. The heat visible. A massive explosion comes forth. I watch the chaos ensue before me, the smoke clouding above the buildings. The barely visible ground was gone, leaving what I assume an elongated crater. Walking through the clearing smoke, I see my opponent. Tomahawks protecting what little they can, cuts, bruises, and slight shaking in her right arm. Grinning run at her. This is why I'm going to be the #1 hero. Only this time, no one will get in my way. Her outfit was covered in burn marks, shiny metal now covered in soot. Lunging my right arm, I throw my hand at her. Unfortunately, luck wasn't on my side. She leaned back, I growl. She still had some kick. Turning around, building momentum, I swing another strike. Sparks igniting, only this time. Pain flashes through my hand, not because of recoil, but the sharp blade end of the tomahawk embedded in my hand. Trying not to let my scream escape, only for another jab into my shoulder. I watch in horror and anger as the second tomahawk's axe was jammed in my shoulder. Blooding oozed out as I clutch my non-bleeding hand, almost turning white. I look at her in anger. The once bright blood-red lenses were now dulled by smoke. She pulled on the tomahawk, forcing me closer at the expense of my pain, and faintly whisper in my ear. The voice was high-pitched and distorted. But even then, it still angered me. "I win, you lose," she breathed out. I wanted to shout at her, tell her wrong. Before I could, she pulled the tomahawk from my hand out, causing me gasp in pain. She left it, hitting me with the blunt top of the tomahawk, hitting my head. I felt conscious fade as I gazed up at her. Her name. I needed to find her. Beat her. Tell no. Show her I'm better. What little energy left, I grunt out, getting a reply that both shocked and angered me. "Deku," she taunted. As she left, I watch as my conscience faded and I blacked out. This is a line because I say it's a line, so just believe it's a line. K, 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 0K. After confirming Bakugo was knocked out, the legs give out and I crumble to my knees, palms on the ground for support. Everything hurts, the cuts on my body, the bruises and jabs hidden beneath my clothing. My bones felt like they'd snap. My body desperate for air as my adrenaline rush no longer numbs the painful aches in my body. Shakily putting my hand to the communication piece, I turn the calm talker on, opening the channel. "K Kurajiri. I'm done here," I barely rasp out. The static default filling my ears. "Understood. It appears fatigue from presumably your adrenaline has worn you out. Take rest at the base. You've done your job to your current capabilities." And no, I can still. FFI'd, taking heavy gulps of air. "I'm not going to be useless," I mutter out. My body felt heavy, like my own muscles had given up. The unconscious forms of Bakugo and Kirish, the red head on the ground. Limping myself, I can't rest now. Everyone is playing their part, and what am I doing? Injured because I let anger take control. Slowly, I start limping, ready for the next fight. "Deka. Now isn't the time to be fighting. You're more valuable to us at full strength," his tone commanding. "Boo," I was interrupted. "This isn't negotiable. Your role here was whatever Shigaraki requested aid in. Understand that both Quirk and Quirkless still have limits. You have exceeded yours." Silence fills the channel. This isn't enough. I've only taken down 5 people. There are still more students who could cause trouble. If they fail, it's because I couldn't stop them. Please, I need to show I'm still useful." My eyes droopy. I've stopped walking and have now started laying on the ground, exhausted. "You still have purpose, Deka. But right now, you must regain your energy. These are still you, a students, not mere thugs or basic Namu," he counters. But I wanted to reply, counter, protest, debate. But my body felt terrible. Ultimately, I gave up. I'm tired," I pant out. I felt painfully useless, like a child incapable of anything now. To which Kurajiri responds, "I'll open up a portal now. You'll be taken back to your room." When you're ready, all for one will be waiting for you, he replies. Right. I had forgotten now. Sensei had a personal request of some kind. Tiredly closing my eyes, I see the iconic purple misty portal limping towards. The mist itself felt like nothing as I passed through. Watching the scenery change from the battlefield, I see the bed before me, stumbling towards it to fall down on the soft material, soaking in the soft fabric. It's Deku now, I say, to which I get no immediate response. Understood.